How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. We're here in Santa Ana, California, where tonight Ultimate Pro Wrestling is going to be right here at the Galaxy Theater doing a live show. In fact, it's going to be available on web at www.upw.com. It's Edge and Christian are going to be in the main event against Nova and Frankie Kazarian. We're going to have several of the local wrestlers on, during the show, including Prototype will be up in probably about 20 minutes. We, of course, have Brian Alvarez here. We'll be talking about current wrestling news as well. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. Brian, how'd the issue go? I guess we should start with that.
That went pretty good. I was up really late. I had to do the Johnny Valentine thing, and it took a lot longer than I expected it to. But, I mean, overall, I got it done and managed to get some stuff up for the website today. So we got some news updates up there, SmackDown results, which we'll go over here in a second, and everything turned out pretty well.
Okay, good. I've been, out of the loop kind of since this morning. So, why don't you start with the news? Well, I guess is there anything we should start with before SmackDown, or?
We can start with SmackDown first, get into the news after that.
Okay.
Hey, is Jim Ross there, by the way?
But he's not here right now. I can tell you that. As far as if he's going to be here, he may be here.
Okay.
They're expecting him, but I don't know that it's confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with the SmackDown Sunday Night Heat stuff like that, then we'll get into some other news. Sunday Night Heat, Lita beat Molly Holly in a women's match. Billy Gunn beat Saturn clean. In fact, all these matches on Heat were clean, so you can kind of see where some of these guys are on the card. Raven beat Just Incredible, and the Hollies beat the APA, which I thought was kind of surprising because they were talking about giving Bradshaw the big push, but apparently that big push is not coming.
No,
yet.
I think that they may be, and I don't know this, they may be beating them.
To break them up?
Farouk, and then they break them up, and Bradshaw goes as a single, and Farouk kind of, it's going to be tough for him when they break up. I don't know where he's going to fit in.
I think Holly pinned Bradshaw, though.
Oh, well, then that surprises me.
We'll see. I think Bradshaw's going to turn heel.
Could be. Yeah, they could.
For the SmackDown show, opened up with Steve Regal coming out, and he was in his full wrestling gear, and he said that the following match was going to be a tag team match under the Duchess of Queensberry rules. And he did not bother to explain what the rules were. Ended up being Regal and Kurt Angle versus Benoit and Jericho. And
by the way, do you know why he didn't explain what the rules were?
Because they cheated?
No.
Or did he forget and they had to do it afterwards? He did explain it after the match, so they may edit it together. Or
well, I was told that they haven't come up with the rules yet.
Oh, that's good.
No, they did come up with they did a gimmick where at the end of the match. They explained the rules. Okay, when they did double submission on Jericho, right?
Yeah.
Finish. Okay, so one did like the Regal stretch and then angle
and the ankle lock
and the ankle lock. So he explained that the deal there is that you have to both use your submissions to win.
But that makes no sense in a singles match.
But it makes no sense in a singles match. So exactly. So they have to refigure exactly what they're doing, and that was the last TV. So.
And by the way, I guess that was like 10 or 15 minutes or something like that. So they got a lot of time after Monday.
After Monday.
I guess
yes.
People were complaining about that one. And then
well,
he had...
give him credit. When people complain, they do listen and they do try to rectify it really quick.
Oh, by the way, you'll like this. There's a editorial up on WWF.com that I'm going to send to you that is written by somebody who's basically going off about people on the Internet who are complaining about the booking. So they may rectify some things, but... It's kind of weird because I remember they used to do this in WCW when people would complain about the booking. They'd have these editorials on the website, and I never understood why they did it, but they did, and now WWF is doing it as well. So they'll get a kick out of it. It's a good one.
But that's the first sign of what?
Yep, it's classic. Then they cut to Vince, Helmsley, and Stephanie backstage, and Vince said that when Austin shows up, he's going to announce his major plans for the evening. And ends up with Austin showing up, and he basically says that it's going to be Kane versus Edge and Christian in a handicap match, and Undertaker versus RTC in a handicap match, and that if Undertaker or Kane interfere in, their other brothers' match, then the World and Intercontinental titles will no longer be on the line for the Backlash show, which, of course, does not happen. Then he also signs Austin and Triple H versus a tag team, an unnamed tag team, in the main event. And Austin and Hunter act like they're angry about it, but ends up being a swerve. Lots of swerves here, by the way. Then we had Matt Hardy beating Eddie Guerrero to win the European title. Lita basically gives Eddie Guerrero a Frankensteiner, and then Matt hits Twist of Fate. So that's that. And it basically changes the lineup for the pay-per-view. It's now going to be Matt, Christian, and Eddie Guerrero in a triple threat for the European title. And then Raven will be facing Rhino for the hardcore title. Kane beat Edge and Christian in a handicap match. It was basically DQ, so he didn't squash him. But they both used the double chair shot to the head, and so they got disqualified. They did a skit backstage with Deborah and Stephanie, where they're arguing about who will be the lackey to go get coffee for the guys. And Deborah ends up losing the war. She has to go get coffee. And then she's bringing it back. She accidentally spills it all over Steve Austin. And he goes crazy and tells her to wait in the truck. No. I don't know what they're teasing there, but...
I don't want to hear
it. I know. Then it's Rhino versus Test for the hardcore title. Rhino gores him and gets the win. And then we had some skit with Grandmaster Sexay and Steve Blackman, which even this person did not understand, so I guess we'll just have to watch it. X Factor cuts a promo. Just Incredible pretty much says he was the one that got rid of the Dudleys from ECW, so they're doing the interpromotional, I guess, angles, or bringing up angles from other promotions. Anyway, Dudleys came out and destroyed X Factor, so that sets up the pay-per-view match. Undertaker's handicap match was against RTC, and he destroyed them. They teased Ascension again, and I guess Godfather and Bull Buchanan just watched as Undertaker killed Stevie with the last ride. And in the main event, Austin and Hunter came out for their unnamed opponents, which ended up being Kai and Tai. And Kai and Tai came out with Avalanche jerseys, stood on the ramp, and pretty much just talked back and forth. And the gimmick was they distracted them, so Undertaker and Kane came through the crowd, beat up Hunter and Austin, and the show went off the air. So the main event was RTC versus Undertaker, and the big angle set up the pay-per-view. So that was pretty much it for SmackDown.
Well, we'll be watching that show tomorrow night. What else is going on in the news?
Well, Chyna has been sued by her former talent agency, Braverman Bloom.
Oh, and this one I didn't know. Okay, tell me about this one. I got another one for you after this one.
Okay, basically, they're claiming that
Braverman and Bloom, that's, of course, Barry Bloom. Wow.
Yeah, yep. And they're claiming she is skipping out on outstanding balances and commissions, which she has earned since leaving the company. And they claim that they got her roles on shows like Pacific Blue, Third Rock from the Sun, the appearance in Playboy, the fitness video, the autobiography, and, this is the scariest one of all, a TV project that she's working on, which is entitled Longings of Lolly, which sounds like a TV show that I have absolutely no desire to see, especially with Chyna as Lolly, longing for somebody. And they claim that she's owed between $150,000, or they're owed between $150,000 and $250,000. And they've called her. She has not responded. They've called her agent at Endeavor. She has not responded. And so they're very angry about that. But wow, what's the other lawsuit you were talking about?
Okay, I don't know if this has been filed, but I do know that, Mick Foley's book, of course, if you watch TV, it's coming out on May the 8th. And, and anyway, they went over his book, the legal department, with a fine-tooth comb. In fact, it was really, the first book when he came out, they, I don't know they did change some names of certain people from his, and I think he mentioned that on the show, like some of the girls' names were actually changed, but all the stories are real. This one, they were far more sticky about, like, things and stuff that he said that could get people upset. And I guess the reason is that there are some people who are portrayed in a certain way in the Chyna book who claim that those stories, and apparently this is not, it's not Killer Kowalski, and it's not anyone, I was told it was not anyone that I know, but it was some of the people of earlier in her life, not family members either, by the way, that were portrayed in a certain way that they think, basically there's certain threats from Chyna's book, and now everyone's, before I guess they figured, whatever you say about wrestlers and wrestling, no one's ever going to sue. But now I guess, because Chyna's book was a big hit, and I guess that's not the reason. It's probably, I could imagine a lot of people that she knew reading that book not being particularly thrilled. So
how about everybody that was mentioned in the book just files a class action lawsuit?
Everyone except for, Hunter, Vince, and, was there anyone? Mick Foley, actually, right?
Yeah,
I think
probably.
Nobody else. Almost nobody. Shawn Michaels, I think, and X-Pac. I think everybody else, no one else came off looking all that good.
Everyone else got off easy.
Yeah.
There was also an article on MSNBC, I think he emailed me about this last night, with News Corp wanting to buy UPN.
Oh, yeah.
And according to the article,
it's getting serious.
It may be done in May.
Wow. Okay, right now that's actually a huge story because the News Corp owns Fox. and they may buy like 50% of UPN, or they may even buy all of UPN because the FCC ruling will allow. I mean, CBS or Viacom can keep it, but the upfront ad sales are weak because aside from SmackDown, which actually the WWF is in charge of the advertising of, so they don't really make money on it, but they could make more money on other shows. And it's one of those things where it could make more money than it does, and their upfront ad sales, because of the weak ad market and the fact that they haven't really gotten any other shows with huge numbers, are slow for UPN. And but if News Corp were to buy it, I think that would really lessen any chance, if there is any chance, there may not be any chance anyway, of a Fox wrestling company. They're probably, hey, they had their shot with WCW.
How would like the WWF's contract be structured for Viacom? Because if they can only provide programming for Viacom, and Viacom no longer owns UPN, what would that mean for SmackDown? Done?
I think that
would the contract be transferable?
I think that what it would be is that they would only. I think that probably the way. It's actually a really interesting point. I would guess that because they already have an existing contract with UPN, that probably your contract's going in. You can't cancel them, so I think that they would stay on UPN, and it would just be they couldn't go on any other cable station. I think could be,
or until the contract's up.
That's it, or until the contract's up. They'd probably have to honor it until the end of the contract. But I think what's interesting, if Fox does buy UPN, UPN just acquired the rights
to Buffy.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I knew you'd bring that up. I mentioned in the article as well.
No, there's a reason. The thought process is why this being done is that they knew this deal was going to go through,
right?
And it was News Corp that funded the money for them to steal Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And the WB originally thought that Fox was just going to buy it and put it on Fox stations, and Fox said no, we had no intention of doing that. We're not going to take our own programming and put it on. We're not going to parcel it out and then take it back and put it on our own stations. We'll put it on another station. But if they turn around and buy UPN. Well, isn't that the same thing? I mean, they're claiming that they would have made the deal with UPN in regards to Buffy, regardless, of what's going on. But I tend to disagree on that one.
Okay. Any other news, Brian?
Yeah, they announced today officially at a press conference that it's going to be Kazuyuki Fujita versus Yoshihiro Takayama for the IWGP title at the Pride Show.
For the title? Oh, I didn't know that they announced for the title.
Well, actually, I was just listening to the Eddie's show. And
oh my God,
Tanaka was on there, and he said IWGP title was on the line, so I'm assuming that it is. But I'm not sure at the press conference if they actually announced it or not.
Eddie must be just thrilled.
You should have heard the end of the conversation.
What did he say? I didn't hear it. Oh my God.
He's just talking about, why is there a pro wrestling title on the line in, a mixed martial arts event? And I'm just wondering, what are they going to do? Is it going to be a worked fight? If it's going to be a worked fight, then why can't Vegeta work the May 5th show?
Well, I emailed you about that last night. There's actually
but I mean, if it's a legit fight, why would Inoki have a legit fight with the IWGP title on the line? Because if someone with that belt loses in a shoot fight, that's just going to kill the belt.
Okay, but if he lose, first of all, Takayama is not a big risk, although in a shoot, anything's
Yeah, but look
at
Lennox Lewis.
No, as I said, you're right. But, I mean, the whole thing, but if he loses to Takayama, they could always do some business with it afterwards. And actually it'd be good for business. It could be interesting for business.
Yeah, you bring Takayama in as the IWGP champion or whatever.
And it creates, it creates a Noah New Japan, or Noah Inoki's guys rivalry. It creates new programs. If it's done that way, work or shoot. Nevertheless, I would have to think it's going to be a work match. I don't, you never know. Mm-hmm. I would think.
I just don't understand why pull him from a show on May 5th if he's going to do a work match at the end of the month. I can understand if it's going to be a shoot because you need to train and you don't want to go in there and, do a work wrestling match and risk getting injured. But, if they're both going to be works. Not
that other people haven't done that regularly. I mean, Murahama was doing topes before his fight with Hoyler Gracie, and so was Otsuka. Otsuka worked the same day as one of his shoot fights.
Yes, he did.
I think it was with Bo Shanshin, too. I think that he worked an afternoon wrestling show and then went with Bo Shanshin that night. I forget who it was. Someone. Unfortunately, we can't take emails today, but we can take phone calls. So someone you can email
no emails
us
on the laptop either.
We don't have a laptop here, or do we? Al, what's going on? Al, tell us technically what's happening.
Yeah, actually, we do, but we only have one phone line, so that's the biggest problem that we have, hooking up a laptop.
Okay.
We're kind of doing this skeleton-wise, but it's actually working much better than the last time we were here, right?
The first time when we started 20 minutes late, had one of our best shows.
Right.
Our guest for this segment is going to be John Cena, prototype from UPW, and I was not joking when I said, by the way, between meals.
Yes.
Because we were just eating right before the show.
Indeed. Some excellent Samoan barbecue.
Yeah, it really was.
Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned to me you got some big news coming up as far as your career goes.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a week from now I'll be taking off for Ohio Valley Wrestling to work down there with Danny Davis and Jim Cornette. That's a move that hopefully will be a big step in the career because that's usually the next step before TV for WWF, so I'm very excited.
You know, you've been. They brought you to some TVs a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I had the chance to work in Anaheim and Los Angeles, and then I flew out to the East Coast to work Boston and Philadelphia. I thought the matches went for the most part pretty good. We got cut short in LA, so it was kind of iffy, but for the most part they were all right.
How was it working with Devin Storm in Philadelphia?
It was excellent. It was excellent. He is one hell of a guy. And the same thing with the night before, Chris Chetty in Boston. Both those guys are excellent. They took care of me very much. I'm still a rookie in there, and those guys are seasoned. So they planned it so they still got their stuff in, but they didn't do anything I really didn't know how to do. So, I mean, they both got over, and I was fortunate enough to be put over both nights. So, I mean, I was happy, very happy.
Now, you worked heel. Was that the first time you've worked heel?
In front of a WWF crowd, yes.
Okay, but you worked it here or no?
I started out as a heel, so basically that was the first time I'd be able to work heel. Yeah. Pretty much.
And I noticed you doing that also at the APW show last week.
I have a lot of fun up there. Their fans are excellent up there, and they fuel me to go even more over the top. I really have fun working up there.
Yeah. You did. I mean, I mentioned this before the show, but you did a really good job in the APW as far as heel mannerisms. Because I know you had worked. I don't know what percentage, but 80-90% of your matches as babyface.
Yeah.
And I was real impressed with just. You didn't pause and you didn't think, you were reacting natural and
Yeah, I mean that's and a lot of that has to attribute to the crowd. They kept the match going and it was really good. But I've been trying to watch as much as I can. I mean, we still keep up the practice schedule and I'm in the ring the same amount of time, but I'm trying to watch the great heels of the past and watch some great matches, like even a lot of old school stuff, and just see how those guys were, because they didn't do much spot-wise, but they had to fill time with little things. So I'm trying to watch a lot of the little things.
What type of stuff?
What's the busiest wrestling schedule you've ever had to work, as far as just actual house shows?
As a typical UPW week is practice on Tuesday, practice on Wednesday. Those practices are 2 to 3 hours. Day off Thursday. Practice on Friday, another 2.5 hour practice. A show on Friday night in front of a house crowd. 2 practices on Saturday. A show on Saturday night, and Sunday and Monday off.
So you're doing pretty easy transition, Ohio Valley.
Oh yeah. I'm actually looking forward to it. They do much more shows out there, so I'm actually looking forward to even working in front of a crowd even more, which would be good.
And also, you'd be working with different people.
A different roster of guys. Hopefully, I mean, we do have a new crowd here at UPW, so hopefully a lot more experienced guys, which would be really fun. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot.
Now, originally you were going to be wrestling Mikey Henderson, but you don't have a match tonight.
I don't have a match due to some unfortunate circumstances. Our hearts are with Mikey Henderson. His grandfather passed away, and I believe he's in Oklahoma. But tonight they're gonna give me like a farewell promo, I guess, and some rotten happens after that for the prototype. So they're still working it out, but we will find out what goes on.
Also, as
far as
like
with the name prototype.
You know what? Me and my friends were sitting around and we tooled around with like a cyborg and like genetic project, and then I actually attributed it to Chris Bell. He used to help us write the shows over here. He's Smelly's brother, and it just popped out of his mouth. He's like, "How about prototype?" And everybody just looked around and said, "That's the one. We're going with it."
Now, you're going also this weekend. You're going to Massachusetts again, right?
Yep, I'm going back to Somerville, Massachusetts to work for Sheldon Goldberg in New England Championship Wrestling. I get the fortunate privilege of wrestling Frankie Kazarian, so it's going to be a really good time back there. My dad has only seen me wrestle once, and he's already got like 200 tickets for the show sold. So
my God.
It's going to be a good crowd. Very, very easy to work, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be good.
So a lot of people don't. You grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts. Is that
I
right?
grew up in West Newbury. I went to college in Springfield, Massachusetts. So I'm definitely from the East Coast, and I lived there 22 years of my life. So it's going to be fun to go back.
Now, Frankie Kazarian's also from that area, or
he's from California, but he went to Kowalski School for, I believe, either 2.5 or 3 years. So he also made a little foothold in there. That's pretty much where he got started.
Okay, yeah. I was wondering what the thing was there.
Yeah.
As far as you were talking about some of the old school guys and things like that.
Yeah.
What type of guys have you watched, and who do you really like now?
The guy I like to watch the most, bar none, is the $1 Million Man.
Really?
I really enjoy watching DiBiase. Towards the end of his career, he kind of let up a little bit, but some of his earlier matches, man, he does a lot of the little things. Like in a day where they didn't really bump around that much, he does like the extra stuff during his bumps, and
the extra
just his
flip,
facial expressions, all that's really good. I try to watch as much as him as I can. That's basically it. Just a lot of old school WWF and a lot of old school NWA, like some of the Flair Steamboat matches from the late '80s, and just most, like WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, just stuff I got kicking around the house. But I really try to focus in on DiBiase. I think he works really well as a heel.
Well, you'll get plenty of matches once you get to Ohio Valley.
Yeah.
Now, when you go there, is there any thing as far as going as a heel, going as a babyface, or?
I have no idea what they're going to do with anything. I don't know if I'll be the prototype. I don't know if I'll be a heel or a face or what plans they have for me. I'm just looking forward to going there and trying to make a better part of the program.
Have you seen any of the tapes of their shows?
I haven't seen any of the tapes. I've been on the website as much as I can. It looks like they got some big boys down there, and it looks like they got some good talent. So I'll be ready to.
Yeah, a couple of those guys are big.
Yeah,
Leviathan,
yeah,
are huge guys.
Yeah. It looks like they're pretty big. So I'll be looking forward to it, definitely.
Yeah. As far as training, you don't anticipate any problems. I mean, you have a pretty thick schedule, and you still get all your training in here.
Yeah.
The weight training and everything.
Yeah, and the weight training is fine. I mean, there's enough hours in the day where if you want to wake up early enough, you can get to the gym, or if you want to stay up a few extra hours after the show, you can find a gym. I mean, that's just about putting in the extra effort. I don't see any problems happen with training in road time.
Now, do you go in once a day, or how many days a week do you go in?
I've cut it down actually now because of the schedule. I've cut it down to I can do a minimum of 4 days and a maximum of about 6, but each workout's only about a half an hour.
Really?
So I'm really trying to just cut to the chase. I get in, do what I got to do.
Now, what do you in that half an hour? I mean, you're doing
absolutely no rest. I go from
so medium weights or stuff.
The strength is definitely down, but it's 100% effort. Like I go until failure for every set. So I may not be pressing, half a Volkswagen, but the work that I do, I am completely exhausted by the time that I leave the gym.
Is there what's the reason for cutting down? Do you have a strategy for that?
It's also a form of cardio. So if I don't have the time to go to the gym twice a day, it mixes one within the other. It shortens up the time that you're in the gym. Instead of an hour and a half, it's a half an hour. So you have a chance to get on the road if you have to drive 6 hours somewhere, or you just have a chance to plan the rest of your day. And it just cuts down on the bull that goes into the gym. You don't talk to anybody. I put my headphones on. I go in. I do what I got to do. If I want to socialize, I do it afterwards. So it keeps me focused.
Now, has there been anything? Because I remember one time WWF asked you to lose 10 pounds or so.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I've cut it down to a half an hour workout. I don't need to lift to be 280 pounds. I'm at 240 right now. They're happy with me at 240. I'm kind of eating like a supermodel. I just enjoyed myself out there.
Oh, really?
That was my one cheat out there. But I've really been eating less and watching the diet, so they're happy with me at 240. It's a more athletic build, maybe a little bit more marketable. They don't have to market me as a big guy. So I'm just doing what I can to stay within their liking.
Agility-wise, do you think it helps you a lot?
I'm much more agile at 240, but I don't have any much more of the strength. I feel a lot happier at 260. I'm eating like a supermodel right now.
How about your win in the ring?
Actually, it's much, much better. Being the weight that I am, everything is better, except the fact that I can't, go to the Hostess rack every once in a while and eat some ice cream and have some steaks and stuff like that.
Now, as far as on your joints, you're young. I mean, do you have any little joint problems or anything?
No,
now?
I've always had bad knees. I mean, my knees look like a horror show.
They do.
Yeah, but I try to protect myself in there. As you've seen, I really don't do anything fancy. I mean, I'm still trying to work on my in-ring work, so I just try to take care of myself, leave the big bumps up to the veterans, and they usually put me through stuff that I can handle.
The last couple times you've been to WWF, I mean, what's been your feeling as far as especially going out east, going?
Those guys are great. I'm in a situation where I'm the new guy, trying to do what I can. They could easily come in and just totally turn their shoulders to me, but I try to be a people person, and if you're polite to them, they will give you nothing but positive feedback. Every single person back there has been nothing but a friend. It's a family atmosphere. Not only have they welcomed me in, but they've also been the first to give me feedback, like this looks good, this looks like crap, you should do more of this, concentrate on this. I've learned more from the 4 to 6 times that I've been in the WWF, from the experienced guys, and I learn in the ring with UPW.
Who are the guys, like, after your matches that come up to you the most? Is there anyone in particular?
Of course, like the road agents, Tony Gurria, JR, Bruce Pritchard, Tom Pritchard will give me some feedback. Kevin Kelly has been really good with feedback. And just the guys, like, none of the guys are standing there watching the monitors, but maybe one night Triple H will see your match, so he'll tell you what you can switch and what you can't. Taz was very, very good on giving me some good constructive criticism. Billy Gunn, Bull Buchanan, Big Boss Man. I mean, everybody has their little 2 cents, and if you add up all that money, you get a lot to learn, so it's good.
Okay. Now, I don't know that... Yeah, what are the names of the callers? Because we're going to start with the phone calls right now. Okay, let's go to Sean first.
Hey, guys.
Sean, how's it going?
How you doing?
Hey.
It's going good.
Hey, Prototype, don't be listening to too much Billy Gunn, I say to you. But I just have a couple quick points before I get to my booking idea for Prototype. First off, I see on a lot of other websites and stuff that a lot of people seem to dog Heyman, and I just think that it's been a couple weeks now. I think Heyman is just doing such an awesome job, and I'm down here in Nashville, and I love Lawler more than anyone, but I just think Heyman's just, I don't know, it's kind of like a more serious, you know what I'm saying?
It's more serious and it's more technical wrestling oriented. It's just a different thing. I like Lawler's comedy. Sometimes I didn't, but I'd say most of the time I did. Heyman, he's more nuts and bolts wrestling. Sometimes he's a little stronger. They're totally different. Yeah, they're totally different.
Well, the guys I like to watch is Jericho, Angle, and Benoit. So so I really love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's his thing too, because that's what he loves.
Yep. And, this weekend really made me realize why I love pro wrestling, because I'm a huge fan of just, the fight scene in general, boxing, mixed martial arts. And after Lewis, it just made me realize why I love pro wrestling, because if this was a shoot, we could have Grandmaster Sexay beat Austin or something,
Well, maybe not.
Jeff
but
Hardy beat Hunter. Come on now.
you know what I mean,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, there'd be unpredictable things. But that boxing was... did you watch it?
I didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh, it was just, you're watching a fight that you think is going to be an easy match for Lewis, and unfortunately so did he. And he wasn't in his best shape, and you could see it in the second round, and then he just got caught.
Yeah.
And, Dave, you know a lot more than I do, but as far as, Leviathan, is that his name? What's the name over in
Leviathan.
Yeah, Leviathan, and, how like in Brock Lesnar and Prototype, how are those, guys, are they about the same level as far as, being ready, or... Because I was thinking, I've only seen Brock Lesnar. I saw him at SmackDown Dark Match last week or so, and God, he was so impressive. And it
really depends on who you listen to as far as Lesnar, because there's some people that go, people are just blown away when they see the shooting star press, and it kind of blinds them to his actual ability in the ring. But
yeah,
I've never seen him, so I can't tell you.
At the Dark Match, it was nothing great, but him and Sheldon Benjamin, no one gives Dark Match guys any chance, but people were popping for him, people really took to him, and I don't know, I've only seen pictures of Prototype, and I was just thinking, I'd bring in, him and Brock Lesnar or even Leviathan as a tag team, because, they're scary looking, and I'd bring him in as, a Goldberg tag team, just make him unstoppable and just kill everybody.
Brock Lesnar's, Brock Lesnar's a pretty big guy, and his power moves, his suplexes are real impressive. I think Prototype's further advanced than Brock Lesnar. Leviathan, again, it's like I've only seen him do the Monster Man stuff, so I don't know exactly. I know that he trains the same way everyone else does. He's a huge guy. I don't know if you...
Oh, no, I've seen pictures, and he looks jacked to the gills.
He's like 6'6", 290, maybe.
Yeah.
And with an unusually small waist at that,
Yep.
so...
He looks scary big.
Yeah. He's got a great physical look.
Yeah. Yep.
But John here is a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Than either of those two guys.
I'm 6 feet. Just barely 6 feet, 240. I actually wouldn't like to work the unstoppable gimmick. I actually like the wrestling. I like the entertainment of it. I mean, for the big guys, I think it works. For a guy like me, I really don't think it would work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And hey, guys, I enjoyed the show yesterday. And Dave, you have to get Flair on soon, man.
Oh, we'll get Flair on again. Don't worry.
And,
we're going to do the Ray Stevens thing in the next, with Flair and Nick Bockwinkel and Heenan. Maybe we're going to try to get them all together on one show.
I can't wait for that. And
I can't either.
Good luck, man.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.
Okay, who's up next? Terry in North Carolina?
North Carolina?
Dan, okay, let's go to Dan. Dan, what's up?
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really good.
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment Prototype on his match at APW. I was there at both shows in Vallejo, and I thought they were great.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks.
And that was the guys in the front row, me and my friend, the only people cheering for UPW.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. It's good to see a smiling face in that crowd. That crowd is tough.
You guys came up to us and shook our hands. It was really cool.
Cool, man. Cool.
Rick Dustman blew his nose on my APW shirt.
Awesome. That's not the best souvenir for some reason.
I was wondering if after that thing with Max Justice where he sided with you, if you guys are going to follow up with the UPW, APW angle.
In my case, I definitely won't be able to follow up with it because I might be gone. But if you're an APW fan, they're going to milk that for as much as we can get out of it. We got a whole crew of guys that hopefully we're going to send up there. And I mean, I've been to 2 of their shows, and that's a great feud. I mean, the fans really get into it. So if they can keep carrying it, I think it'll be something interesting to watch.
How do you like working with those guys from APW?
Awesome. Those guys. I've worked with Donovan before, and he's always great. Working with Vinny and Max, obviously, I think the whole Max gimmick that made the match. I think that was great.
Yeah, the Max thing was good because you worked real well with him, because you always kind of in the power thing. And then, and then when you backed off of him every time.
I thought that was great. I thought that whole angle worked very well. But no, those guys are really great. Those guys are awesome, and they can do some phenomenal stuff. There's no doubt about it.
How do you like, as far as watching those guys doing a lot of different moves, especially Vinny. Vinny's,
He does some real innovative stuff. Again, I just think those guys are up there for the wrestling. They really do. They wrestle their asses off, and they're really lenient on what moves they'll take and what moves they won't. A lot of Vinny's stuff I just wouldn't take because I'd be worried about my health. I mean, he does a lot of dropping on the neck type moves and stuff like that, which are awesome to look at. But even as a guy in the back, I'm cringing away going, ooh, he's not going to make it out of that one. So, I mean, really innovative stuff, but at the same time, if he wants to bring it to the next level, he's got to ask himself if everybody in the line is going to take it.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things with a lot of guys on Independence that do a lot of really, really great moves. And Brian, can talk about this also. When they go to the top, you got to remember that a lot of the guys at the top, they're not going to take these moves right on their head.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
And the brass won't allow it either. The higher ups definitely won't allow it either. So I mean, they got to totally change their style. So I mean, it's great to watch, but at the same time, I'm sure Vinny can work a different style where as if he needed to put it on a match with just regular style bumps, he could.
Okay. John, I want to thank you very much for being here. We're going to head to a break.
It's always a pleasure, my man.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Hey,
you got it.
Good luck in Louisville.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you.
We're going to have John back on May 23rd. We're going to do a whole 90 minutes with him.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Great.
That'll be great, and we can talk about the first couple weeks in Louisville.
Talk to you guys on the 23rd.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Good luck, John. In the booth now, we have Frankie Kazarian, Frankie the Future Kazarian. We also have Nova, who we had on the show just a couple of weeks ago, who's been halfway around the world since we last talked to him. And they're going to be wrestling Edge and Christian tonight in the main event of the show here in Santa Ana. And Frankie, we've never talked to you on the show before. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Pleasure to be here, first of all. Thanks for having me. I've been wrestling a little bit over 3 years. I was trained by the legendary Killer Kowalski in Malden, Massachusetts. Was training over there when Prince Albert was training, when he first got signed to his deal. I've been out in California for the last 3 years. Wrestled all over pretty much every independent in California, the Southern California area. I've been with UPW for the last year, and I'm pretty much religious here.
Now, did you grow up here, or where did you grow up?
Actually, yeah, I grew up in a town called Yucca Valley, California, which is about 30 minutes north of Palm Springs. And what I did is I worked all year. I saved up my money, and I was told to go to Kowalski School. I was recommended. I came highly recommended, actually. So what I did is I just packed everything I had in my car, drove across country, paid the money, and got trained. About 6 months later, when times got tough, couldn't really afford too much, I came back out here, hooked up with a few local promoters, started, I was able to start working constantly, and then eventually landed myself in UPW.
And how did you work for?
In Southern California?
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody, right?
Yeah, I've worked Jesse Hernandez, Bill Anderson, EWF, IWC. I've recently been doing the things with APW, which have been great. Pretty much UIWA, pretty much, you name a promotion in Southern California, I've done it.
Nova, we want to talk to you. You just got back from England.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. Last time was a blast doing the show. I had a great time. Yeah, it was cool. England was awesome. I got to admit, I didn't know what to expect. I thought their style of wrestling was a little bit different. They're totally into, I guess if you want to call it the American style. It's been Americanized a little bit more. British wrestling for a long time was considered to be like done with rounds. There's a lot more like
rounds and the kind of like the Regal style.
Yeah, more mat based.
Any Duchess of Queensbury matches?
No Duchess of Queensbury. We were outside of Manchester, right near there. So, for FWA, run by John Farr, and class act. Everybody was fantastic. The people were totally into everything we did, and I actually didn't know what to expect going out there. I didn't know because they had only been really seeing ECW the last year or so. But they were up on everybody. I got asked questions about everybody in ECW and what was going on. So it was a very warm response, and I had a blast. I would definitely go back again.
How would you compare your time now with your time in ECW as far as just like traveling and how much fun you're having? And I'm sure you miss ECW, but
I do. I miss ECW. I mean, you got to remember, I spent more time with those people than my own family, and I still see a lot. I still see Chris Chetty all the time. I see Dreamer a lot. Some of the other guys I was real close to. But now I've been doing a lot more like worldwide travel and stuff. I got to go to Mexico, and I'm going to Japan next week. So I just want to try to go fight as many different styles and learn them, whether it be lucha or catch and strong style as I can, because that's the only way I'm ever going to get to be a better wrestler is by adapting to as many things as I can.
Frankie, as far as stylistically and everything like that, what type of styles do you like to watch, and what type of stuff have you tried to pick up from different styles?
Well, that's one thing I claim to be the chameleon in professional wrestling, which is I can adapt and do any style. If it's catch can, aerial, mat, groundwork, pretty much anything. I was always a real big fan of hold-to-hold chain wrestling. I think that's a lost art, and I try to bring that back a lot. But like I said, I try to get all kinds of wrestling involved in the match because I think that's what the fans want to see. That's going to entertain them.
One thing, when you wrestled at that APW show a little over a week ago, you did. I guess the match was about 30 minutes long.
Yeah, the 6-man.
And usually when you're wrestling here, the matches are quite a bit shorter. Mm-hmm. What's the pluses and minuses in your mind of going into a long match versus a short match?
Well, as far as going up there, we did have about 30 minutes, and we were, of course, the heels were invading, and in that type of situation, what you can do is you can have a lot of fun with the psychological aspect of it. I could spend 10 minutes selling and just drawing all kinds of heat. Whereas here, I'm set to a certain specific time limit, and I have to get my stuff done. Whereas there, you can draw stuff out a lot more. I like a quick-paced match. I think the fans do too, because nobody wants to see anybody go too long. But I also like going 30 minutes. And when you're with two other guys in your corner, you're not going to blow up or anything. So that's a big advantage right there.
What's your thoughts as far as going in there, if you work a WWF tryout match, you're going to get 4 minutes, or as opposed to a match with Rob Van Dam where you're going to go as long as he wants to go.
Yeah, truthfully, I like to the longer, because be honest with you, when I was a lot more out of shape and couldn't do anything, the shorter the better. You just want to get it over with. But especially when you're a singles wrestler, if you have to go long for a purpose, for a reason for the match to go longer, then it's cool. If you're just going out there and doing nothing and just stalling and killing time and it's boring, then you got to wrap it up. But if things are flowing, look at some of the All Japan and New Japan matches. You're talking 25, 30 minutes. Those people are just as hot at that at the end as when they started. So if you can do it correctly, look at some of Hunter's matches. He goes a long time, but it's just, his stuff is so good that there's reason for it to go a long time. So if there's a reason, I'm into it. But if not, if it's got to be short and to the point, and if you're looking for a desired effect, then you need to go shorter, then that's what you got to do. It's the name of the game. Some night could be 4 minutes, the next you got to be ready to do whatever you got to do.
I got a question for you. As far as, is it easier for you, as far as the conditioning and the physique and everything, to maintain, or was it easier because you could see your improvement comes much more rapid when you're first starting. When you come down from 260 to 195, every week you probably look like a new person.
Yeah.
Now you're pretty much, I haven't seen you, so I don't know if this is what you've looked like for 2 months, or if you're continuing to improve. But mentally, how is this?
Mentally, I will never be satisfied with where I'm at, ever. I come walking in here today, and some other guys, they saw me last month, like, wow, no, we look even leaner and bigger than we did last time.
Really?
Yeah. So be it. My goal is that I'll never be happy. Unless this could sound stupid, but unless I was sitting on a stage and won the Olympia trophy or something, I don't think I could ever. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'll never be content, because content breeds laziness. And if you're never at the opposite end of the spectrum, really fat or out of shape, then you just don't know what it's like to be totally different. So
how long have you been doing the strict dieting now? Has it been
well over a year? And it's to the point now where I don't even mind it anymore. I stood with Dreamer last night, and he thought I was crazy because we went to the restaurant and I had some low-cal sugar-free syrup that I brought me on the road, and he's like, dude, why you do that? And I was like, because this is how I have to do it.
You don't have the perfect metabolism.
Yeah, exactly.
Some guys can get away with it.
Yep.
Can you get away with it? Or?
Actually, no, I can't. I was one of those guys. I was on the other end of the spectrum. I was the little tiny guy, and I could never gain weight. When I did gain weight, it turned into fat. But pretty much now I'm pretty much in the same boat as Nova, and I've been dieting for so long it doesn't even bother me anymore.
You can always
never
go
have a day
better.
where you just
That's my
go
goal.
absolutely crazy.
What's that? I'm sorry.
You ever have a day where you just go absolutely crazy?
Well, usually what I do is sometimes I'm on a diet where I eat, strict 6 days a week. On the 7th day, I indulge, and that kind of helps me from not going crazy.
And even to the point that Frankie's probably the same way. Even my day when it's crazy, it's still better than most people's
absolutely.
best.
Yeah.
To me,
you're not eating like candy all day or nothing like that.
No, to me, a treat, a treat like tonight after the show, I might have some sugar-free yogurt or something like that, or I might eat a little bit later than I normally would. That's a treat to me.
Or a cheeseburger or a pizza or something.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't even miss those. I do miss sometimes chocolate cookie or two, but if you want it, you want it. I'm not a genetic freak like Prototypes, though.
Man, he gets to work hard for it too.
Oh yeah, he does. The guy busts his ass. He puts some weight away. That's the thing. Everybody always says, "Oh, this guy does this. That's why he looks like." No, you gotta. You could take whatever. You could put toxic waste in your body. You ain't gonna get no results unless you put some time in the gym. You have to do it. It's the only way.
Absolutely.
Yep. Let's go to the callers. We're gonna start with Terry in North Carolina. Terry, what's going on? Terry, you're not there.
Terry.
Let's go to Scott.
Why you bug?
Hey, how you guys
on the line.
doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Happening?
Is this Scott?
Hey,
Is it Scott?
yeah.
Okay, Scott, what's going on?
Nova, are you gonna be in Mount Vernon, New York this Saturday?
No, I will be in the one on Friday night, Middletown.
Oh.
I was originally going to try to be in Mount Vernon, but I'll probably be at the Mount Vernon one on the 18th. But go out and check it out because there's going to be a lot of cool people there.
Yeah, I was gonna check out that one. I thought I saw your name on the website, so I thought I'd
Yeah.
be sure, but I guess not. And then Dave, I had a question for you. You always talk about how I guess you get a satellite feed for watching wrestling. What are the benefits?
I don't have I have a dish to watch as far as the direct TV, but I don't have a satellite feed like the guys who. The KU band, the guys who actually watch SmackDown live and they can see the Raw Dark matches and things like that. Yeah, I don't have that.
Wow. Getting like something like DirecTV or something, are there any real benefits to it as far as like watching stuff that is more than just WWE wrestling?
The only stuff is the Tuesday night 3-hour block of Lucha, and you can get Ultimate Fight and Pride on pay-per-view. Aside from that, there isn't any difference than regular TV as far as wrestling goes. It's not like, there was a time when you had a dish and you could get all those regional companies and stuff like that. Now they really don't. There really isn't a lot of regional. There's no regional stuff hardly on TV.
Yeah, so there's no way you can get the channels where you can see OVW or something.
Oh, no. The Memphis, I believe if you have a KU band, I think the WMC goes up because I know one of our listeners who's in Edmonton, watches the Memphis show religiously, so I know you can get that. And I know if you have a KU band, you can get, the SmackDowns on Tuesday Night Live.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are with, talking about this When Worlds Collide pay-per-view, it's God's gift to pay-per-views and stuff like that. And, I've looked, for as long as I've heard about it to find it, and I just can't.
There got to be tape dealers who have that one.
Check out. I think BobBarnett.com has probably got it. In fact,
was that the Lucha one?
Yeah, that was
awesome. Yeah, that was hell of a show. That's our bar was on it, and Eddie Luis Piccoli was Madonna's. Yeah, that was a hell of a show.
Yeah, it's one of the best pay-per-views.
I thought it was groundbreaking for AAA as a whole. I thought they took a huge step with that. Yeah, I really did.
And they never followed up.
Yeah, I don't know. You probably know more than I did. What happened behind
WCW?
Typical disorganization. It was a little bit WCW and a lot of AAA as far as disorganization and follow-up. But, no, for a first show, it was a super show.
I thought it was the start of something. I definitely did.
Yeah, so did I.
And I had one more question for you guys. I know about the, UPW and, Memphis and Ohio Valley are farm promotions for WWF. I just thought it was weird that they don't have one up in the Northeast where they're based.
I've often wondered that too.
I've often wondered that too.
There's not one up in the Massachusetts, New York area because there's a lot of talented guys up there.
Who knows? Who could be? I think everything's getting restructured now and reshuffled.
Really?
I know some guys are going down to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's a big foothold too now.
They're starting it. Puerto Rico's business really picked up in the last 4 months.
They're kicking ass. Yeah, Kionis has done a great job over there. So I don't know. Maybe we'll put one in the Northeast. Who knows?
Yeah, but you guys have no idea why they don't have one.
Who would they send people to up there? Are there any good? What's the best promotion up there?
Well, I think in theory being they'd have to start something. That's
Yeah. I don't really see anyone now. I think they need some backing as far as paying talent.
Right, I see what you're saying though too, because they're based out of Connecticut and nowhere really close. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they do stuff with Jim Kettner. I mean, a lot of their developmental guys do Jim Kettner shows.
They do some developmental stuff, but a lot of those guys who do the Kettners, they already knew Kettner before in the past. But Kettner does a great job. His shows are very well family oriented, and it's definitely a learning experience. Kevin Kelly's associated, and Kevin's a great guy, so he goes down there and he knows good stuff when he sees it. So,
do they send scouts to like local shows?
That I don't know. I always wrestle with the theory that on any given night anybody could be in the audience, and honestly, I don't think they would come up and say, "Hey, listen, tonight's the night. So and so's here, so you got to go." I think that would put too much pressure on them. So you never know who's looking. You got to be ready to go.
A couple months ago, there was a show here in Stamford, actually, right about maybe 10 minutes away from Titan Towers, right? And I noticed 2 days later, about 5 guys off the show were doing jack matches.
Well, they saw them, so
yeah. You never know who's looking.
Who Nova? Who are some of the guys that you've seen running around on indies that you think that that you've noticed, and Frankie, even down here, guys that like regular listeners wouldn't know? Who are some of the guys you've seen that think have a lot of potential?
Well, of course, I'll say the Chris Daniels, that's been said.
Everyone knows that,
yeah. Absolutely. Prototype is a hell of a future in front of him. That guy, I've known him the last year, and his work ethic is far surpasses anyone I've seen down here. Very good. Samoa Joe, who, on top of throwing a good barbecue, can really work in the ring, and the intensity that guy has is amazing, and he's been in the business such a short time, and he's so many levels above most of the guys here. But there's a lot of talented guys down here. I could go on and on. But.
No, but Northeast, I truly enjoy. I think the Backseat Boys have a good future. I like, the aerial stuff. I like what Rick Blade does. There are some guys who are getting stuck in the mindset that wrestling, especially in Northeast and Jersey too, they're getting stuck in the mindset that wrestling is all about hitting each other with weapons and blood. There's a couple groups that, they're taking some big chances. So I don't want to see these guys get conditioned to that. But there are those that go to those groups and wrestle on the shows. Yeah, well, they use the show for what it is. Mm-hmm. And they're constantly striving to improve. But there's some guys that are really, Ace Darling I always thought was really good. He just never got that big break. So, Rick Ratchet was always my perennial favorite, too.
What about in England? Anybody there?
England, hands down, Doug Williams.
Really?
Doug Williams, the Anarchist, he's the guy I fought over there. He is over there considered to be like what Chris Daniels is over here, the best independent wrestler. In Britain, it's not really, if you're a wrestler, that's your job, that's how you make your living. There's not so much where there's fringe groups or outlaws. You just go anywhere and work. Doug Williams, he hands down was a very capable hand, great guy, and a total gentleman. Good talent.
Hey, Dave, have you heard anything about anyone having interest in C.W. Anderson?
I haven't. Have you guys heard anything about that?
I don't know. I unfortunately, the CW, I saw him when he was here last time. He had a great showing against Prototype. I never really talked to CW a whole lot. And I don't have a bat phone. Nobody calls me and tells me the hotlines. I listen to Dave Meltzer or the Pro Wrestling Torch or OneWrestling.com. I know those guys. So I believe half of what I hear and none of what I see. So,
I believe most of what I see, but about half of what I hear.
Yeah.
I think he's a great talent. It's just the problem is he's maybe his look isn't up to par with WWF.
It's maybe like Nova changed his look. You can not everyone can have. Yeah, not everyone can have the best physique in the world, but.
Well, not only so much physique as far as just look and.
I know though Arn Anderson, but Arn Anderson made a lot of money with his look.
If there was a spot that required somebody to be just like C.W. Anderson to do it, then he'll get it. You know what I mean? It's if right place, right time, and you have to be needed to do what's needed to have that spot filled. I guess if they needed a green alien from Mars, if there was one on Earth, they'd put him in that spot before they put somebody else. So
yeah. It's tough. It's tough though. Right now the business, the number of jobs and everything like that. It's a tough period, especially you're running around all over the world. How is it as far as for both of you guys as far as making a living and everything like that?
Well, for me, I still work 2 regular jobs, and
so that's tough.
Oh, it is tough, and I live pretty much about 2.5 hours closest to the nearest. I'm about 2 hours away from here.
Oh wow!
So anytime I wrestle, I got a 2-hour trip, and most shows aren't in this area, so. That is real hard, but, this is what I've dedicated my life to, so that doesn't bother me. I got my schedule tight at work. I work, Monday through Friday, pretty much 9 to 5, and I have my weekends free so I can work, but it does get trying after a while, being on the road, But that's what I love. I'm all about that.
I've been pretty lucky. I take 1 or 2 independent days a week. I really only lend myself to ones that are pretty good. I enjoy Gateway Championship Wrestling, WrestleZone, UPW. I like traveling overseas. And the rest of the time I just spend in the gym. And I've been pretty lucky where I've been able to make a decent amount since ECW, their problems. But it hasn't been the easiest thing in the world, but you got to take some ups with some downs. For every good day, there's a bad day. So you get out of this what you put into it. So hopefully, things will work out.
I want to ask you this, Frankie, and also if you have any overseas stuff coming up besides we know about the FMW, and also have you done anything or thought about ever doing anything, say, Tijuana, since it's not all that far from here?
Yeah, that is something I'm definitely looking into in the near future. I'd love to go down to Mexico. I'd love to go to Japan eventually. I'm keeping my options open. I'd pretty much love to do it all.
I am going to Japan for FMW's Kawasaki show. There's a chance I might go to Mexico for the next LAW 120. I don't know yet. And then I haven't gotten to Australia yet. I'd like to take a swing in Puerto Rico. But eventually, I wouldn't mind doing a tour if they thought I was worthy enough to do it of New Japan. I know they have their junior tournament coming up. I'll miss that day because I'll be back here. But I would love to be honored to even be considered to go to New Japan and do a tour over there.
Okay, let's go to is Carlo there?
Hey, how you doing, guys? How you doing, Dave?
Doing good.
I have a question about WCW. I heard now, I think it was Bob Ryder that said that he heard there's a possibility that they might not even do it. They'll just use it as an angle. They'll just bring in the guys from WCW because it's like they're not sure what to do right now, and it's like really expensive and stuff like that. Have you heard anything about that? Or
it's really expensive, and I know that they're feeling a lot of pressure because of the XFL. They don't want 2 failures in a row. I know that there's a meeting. It's actually tomorrow. They're having a big meeting on what they're going to do. I mean, everything is a possibility. I mean, I don't know where their mindset is right now. Yeah, I guess there is a possibility maybe they'll just do the angle and that's it. Everything I have been told, and this information is probably 5 days old, and in wrestling, 5-day-old information is sometimes totally obsolete. Yeah, exactly. And that's the last time I talked to anyone there at length about the WCW project. I mean, at that point, they were looking at doing it, but they didn't have a start date. They were hopeful of June, maybe July, doing the Wednesdays. I mean, they were still committed to doing it as something separate, doing a separate TV show. But, and there's been no major meeting since then, so it's not like anything big would have changed. But, they're going to go in there tomorrow.
I think there's a lot of people looking at the fact that the 2 shows have been pushed back and just thinking, if they've been pushed back twice so far, maybe, it'll just fall through. And I think that they've just been pushed back because they're not ready yet.
I mean, they don't want to stay. We talked about it a long, that 11 o'clock to 1 a.m. time slot on a Saturday night, you may be able to hook a lot of people the first week as a curiosity, but you better give them a good show, because if you give them a really bad show the first time out, a lot of people will just they're going to go out on Saturday night and just forget about it real quick. You guys have any thoughts on this?
I personally, I hope that they do run it as a separate company, because there's so many talented guys out there, and I think they can make it go. I hope they don't do it as an angle, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, potentially, if it's done right, it could be a monster angle.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think it will. I think it'll take off. I mean, sometimes people almost just want to be totally pessimistic. Oh, they're not going to do it. They're not. Give them a chance. This is a huge undertaking. It's a huge restructuring. It's a big deal. It ain't going to be done half-assed. Everything.
Yeah, it can't be done half-assed. It can't be done half-assed.
Yeah, look what happened. Yeah. So I mean, WWF touches stuff. It usually turns to gold. So they want to do it right. So I think they will. Yeah, I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it. Yeah.
Even if they don't do it, they're still definitely Vince is still definitely going to keep the WCW name, right?
Well, I mean, as far as marketing videos, as far as I'm sure he'll do it for an angle with Shane as a worst case scenario. Yeah. But I mean, as far as how long they would keep that name going if they didn't run a separate show, I mean, that'd run its course pretty. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you could drag that out more than 6-9 months. Maybe not even.
They're not selling the name though.
Yeah. No, they're not going to sell the name to somebody else, no. Okay?
Okay, thanks a lot, Dave.
Okay.
Yep. All right. We got Tommy Dreamer here. Tommy, how are you today?
Not bad. How are you, sir?
We're doing very, very good. We're here at, of course, in Santa Ana. We got Brian Alvarez, Figure 4 Weekly here as well. Tommy, where's everything stand? I mean, you're I'm sure you get this question like 5 times a day. How's everything stand with you as far as what you're doing these days?
I'm doing like I always been doing. I'm just wrestling, doing a lot of indies, and just waiting to see what happens with WWF, WCW. I'm good friends with Paul. I've spoken to Jim Ross and spoken to them. And they just tell me to wait, and they tell me to wait. That's what I do.
What are some of the places you've been? I know I saw you wrestled in Ontario the other day.
I have been everywhere. I'm becoming rapidly the king of the indies, and I'm enjoying every single one of them because I'm meeting a lot of people, seeing a lot of talent out there. I've been everywhere. I was just saying to I was just talking to Joey Matthews, who's down in I think where they're Louisville or Ohio Valley. Joey Matthews.
He's in Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said I'm working more than if we were working full time in ECW. I'm working like 4 or 5 times a week, So I'm having a good time, That's all.
How are you feeling physically?
I'm physically feeling good. I'm 255 pounds. Still have love handles and a big butt, but I'll always have those, so that's okay. As long as I fall on my butt or my head, I'll be fine. So that's about it.
I mean, physically, are your joints and everything like that? Do you feel better than when you were in ECW, or?
Yeah. I kind of say I wish I was Tommy Dreamer all the time, because when I was Tommy Dreamer, I never felt anything when I was in the ring, with the adrenaline. But when Tom Laughlin would come out, sometimes I would be pretty banged up the next day. But whenever I'm wrestling, I don't feel anything. And lately, I feel great. And I've wrestled in some really bad rings, and I've wrestled in some really good rings. But I've been fine for a while. It was really a shame what happened, with ECW, because, I was, pretty much getting body-wise and, with my back and my neck in the best shape that way. And now I'm getting in better shape, because I've lost about 15 pounds. I want to lose about another 10, 15. So I'm happy around being around 240. So that's about it.
What's what with the whole thing what happened with ECW? I mean, and the fact that it was sort of almost a prolonged thing. Mentally you were so everyone knows that you were so dedicated to that company, right. And you were like Paul's right hand man. Was it tough for you mentally as the thing was going down?
I walk around with a broken heart basically because everyone looks at wrestling as one way, but I have a lot of friends, and I know their wives, I know their girlfriends, I know their children, and everyone's lives get affected with this, and we had about 40 people who were affected with all this, and I know Paul tried his best to, try to save it, but, you couldn't do it. We were fighting a losing battle. There's a lot of reasons why ECW went down, but, you just got to look at it as it was a great place to work. It was a great time in my life and a great time for a lot of guys' lives. And you just gotta, now hope to, you work for the WWF. There's only really one place to work now, and WWF or WCW, and I think they'll do a good job with everything because you can't argue with their success. But I walk around with a broken heart because I loved ECW and I loved all my friends who were there, and you would see these people every single week, and now you don't see them anymore. And you talk to them on the phone, but it's still not the same. And I don't think a lot of people. UPW is a lot different, it's a lot more professional, but I've wrestled some very unprofessional places, and then you also hear a lot of horror stories about other guys, and a lot of guys who stuck by ECW at the end, don't deserve to be doing those right now. They deserve to be in, WWF or WCW, so we just hope and wait, and time will tell.
Now when did you pretty much know that it was over? Did you actually have to, see the bankruptcy filing, or was there a point where you just kind of went, whatever people say, I just know that it's over?
No, I don't want to sound like a mark, but I'm a fighter, and I knew what I did, and there was a lot of meetings going down towards the end that I was very, very privy to, but it was just there's a lot of things about the demise of the empire, how I like to call it, but one day when I write a book, because that's what I'm a wrestler, I have to write a book, right? That'll be in my book, so I don't want to give away because right now probably it's one of the better chapters in my life with professional wrestling, because this will be the sad point. If this was a E behind the stories, this would be the point where the band broke up or I was on drugs. This is the down point. Now I got to look for my second comeback or something. So that's how I look at it.
Tommy, I know that probably except for Paul Heyman, you were in there at those meetings and know how close. What would you say looking back? How close were you to being able to pull it out, and is there anything that you could say that went wrong, or was it one of those things where, God, we came so close but we didn't make it, or was it timing?
There was a lot of things. I know I was privy to 2 meetings because I brought 2 people to the table, and one meeting they could have saved the company, but ECW they didn't have financial records. It was, I always describe ECW as like a mom and pop's deli that was bought out by Subway, but it was still trying to be run like a mom and pop's deli. And we didn't have financial records. And when you're dealing with bankers and everything, you can't just say, well, we made this much money. They want to see, proof. And just the hard thing with the company is we always needed liquid cash. You know, we had a lot of money supposed to be coming us with pay-per-views, but you know, it didn't work out. You know, and you look at .com companies right now. It's business. It sucks, but it's business.
Yeah, I mean, so many businesses. You know, wrestling. You know, wrestling's really showing it in the last 6 months with WCW and everything too.
Well, WCW I think was a different story. I mean, they had the golden egg, but they destroyed it. You know, from what I never worked there, but from all accounts of what I'm being told, they destroyed it themselves. I mean, ECW, Paul fought for it, myself fought for it, Ron Buffone, Charlie Braziz, Steve Carroll, everyone. I mean, they fought for it. I mean, we had help from WWF. It was a great place to work, and the one thing I do wish we had would be a chance for myself and a lot of the wrestlers and just put on one last show, like a goodbye show. You know, because we never really got to say goodbye because we were always just hanging on, hoping and hoping. So,
I mean, is there a chance that somebody could do that, say in Philadelphia, you know, at the building, and just bring most of the guys back together? Because I'm sure, you know, if you could get WWF to agree to let the guys on, you know, one day do it on a Friday night, because they usually don't work Friday nights anyway, and you know, most of the other guys, I'm sure that, you know, live in the area and all, you know, would want to do it for the one last time.
I don't know. Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Book it, Dave. Run your first show.
So basically, as far as like outside of wrestling and everything, how's your life changed without the ECW structurally?
Well, right before the whole bad times, I bought a house, so that was a bad time to buy a house, and I have a very large mortgage, but I hopefully everything will prevail. My life, I kind of had a revelation during everything, because I gave up a lot for the business and a lot of my own personal self, and like I don't have a whole lot to show for it, so I'm enjoying playing with my niece and my nephew. I mean, I don't have a wife, I don't have kids, and I'm enjoying spending time with my family, and you know, I'm doing things that, like, I mean, I used to miss a lot of family parties, or, you know, just because I'd be in the studio with Paul, or I just, you know, but there's a lot of, like, little things in life that I missed out on, and I'm 30 years old now, and
you're not that old.
I know, but still. But I missed out on a lot of things, and, you know, I mean, now I'm just fixing up my house, and, you know, that's really about it.
Tell us a little bit about, you know, a lot of people don't know about it except for, like, maybe the brief clips they saw on Beyond the Mat or something like that, but the ECW, as far as like TV production night. I mean, were you out there with the Chinese food and everything like that?
Yes.
What would?
That's why my butt got so big. Paul has single-handedly destroyed me, but.
No. What's what were those nights like? I mean, because you're basically up there, you know, all night, 24 hours or however long. How long do usually those putting together those TVs take?
Well, let's see. I comprise the list. I have like a top 10 of the top craziest people I ever met in the wrestling industry, and Paul is number one, and that's not a slight on him. I tell him all the time, he's a crazy man. And if Paul would tell you he'd be at the studio at like 2 o'clock, just like if he tells you I'll call you back, he would sometimes show up at like 10 at night, because, you know, he'd be bogged down and doing stuff. And if he was there, I remember one time it took 12 hours to do like the November to Remember video, or just to do a video, or, you know, he liked the show, would watch the show, and then just say, you know what, I don't like the show, and restart it. Ron Buffone, he would probably go in around maybe 10 o'clock in the morning and do his own stuff, and then just sit around, wait for Paul. If Paul did show up on time, they would go into the studio on Monday and probably leave Wednesday. And then the other guy, Charlie, would come in, go to Dubs, you know, because we had to send out all the tapes to all the different markets. A lot of times the shows, you know, especially when we were on TNN, when they had to do 2 shows, they would work from Monday to Friday, and then, you know, Saturday go in and shoot television, you know, wherever we were. Ron and Charlie were also the backbone of the company, because they did all the production, and they were so understaffed, you know, and they had to deal with Paul on a constant basis, you know, and, you know, Paul had his own stuff or had to be in meetings, so it was, you know, it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, that's how I lived my life. That's how they lived it, and, you know, Charlie has children, Ron, you know, has a wife and kids, and just everyone's lives is so devoted, you know, towards, you know, the wrestling business, you know, and that's why I was saying these, you know, guys like them deserve to be, you know, in the wrestling business because of all of what they put out for it.
Now, you were in there for, what is it, 7 years or so?
I was there from the beginning, yeah. I walked in, and I showed up with Taz with my bags, and he put me in a match against him, and Paul always said 3 people gave me a standing ovation, and I got a job. So that was it.
Now, give us a little bit about your background before ECW. Were you with Mario Savoldi for a while?
Yeah, I was with the Savoldis. I was trained by Johnny Rods, who trained a lot of guys who have made it in the business. He trained Taz, Devon Dudley, Big Dick Dudley, Big Sal Graziano, Angel, the Baldies, Hugh Morris, Big Vito. And I just did, a lot of indies on the East Coast. And then, I hooked up with ECW, and I stayed there ever since.
You were pretty big into bodybuilding for a while, weren't you?
I don't know about bodybuilding, but I always work out. A lot of people don't give me credit for how much I work out, but it was also hard, the whole broken neck thing, the whole broken back thing, being beat up every day and then going to the gym. But one of the better things, I bought a fitness machine, elliptical machines?
I don't know.
Yeah, I bought one of those. It cost me about $4,000, but it's...
you know what it is? Okay, I don't.
It was well worth it because I wake up, I do that every day. I mean, I work out like 4 or 5 days a week, and I could be as heavy as 290, I could be as light as 240. So I was I was into fitness, and I still am. I mean, that's why I love being out here. I'm just working out, going to the beach, and, working out. That's the way of life of a wrestler should be. Then come to work, wrestle, and then go back, wake up, and do it again.
Yeah. How do you like, is this your second time here? Or is your first
No, it's my first time.
First time here? Okay.
First time being here for UPW. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've heard so much good things about it, and Nova was the one who hooked me up with it.
Okay, we're going to start with phone calls.
Ben.
Oh, what's up, guys? I didn't hear you call my name.
Ben, this is Tommy Dreamer. You're on the air. What's up?
Tommy? Where
Yes,
did you
sir.
get the idea to do the military rope climb to a hot tag?
Oh, yeah.
Raven would call it the I don't know, what would he call it? When you, shimmy across a clothesline. I don't know. I just did it. And the balance of my big butt would perfectly hold me in force, and I just would pull myself. The zip line, that's what he would call it. No, I did it. Actually, I was watching. I mean, I'm the biggest mark in the business, bigger than you, Dave. I'm telling you, I'm the biggest fan. I will outmark anyone in the business, and I dare callers to call in and try to outmark me.
Don't do that.
I watched. Mark Lewin, he was. I used to watch him take all these crazy bumps, and he used to do one where you just would hang on the ropes, and I just decided maybe if I could make a hot tag for it, and it was the whole trying to do things first. I'm big into that, and so that's how I got the idea.
Okay. Where are you hanging the green suspenders?
Where am I? What?
Where are the green suspenders?
Well, soon you'll be able to purchase them on eBay. No, they're at my house. I keep everything.
Okay, and I heard on our video, I think it was you or Taz told a story about you guys confronting Green Day in a hotel room or hotel.
Wow, yes, sir. That was a long time ago.
I don't know this story.
Yes, Taz and I were in a hotel room, and I was trying to hook up with the lady at the front desk, and I was doing a hell of a job with it, and then they came in, it was late as night, they were a little messed up, they got a little rude, and then they got very rude with the girl at the front desk, and she was supposed to be my girlfriend for the evening, and I kind of had to defend that honor because I knew her for about a whole 30 minutes, and so we got a little bit of a push shove, but they just backed away because Taz was ready to go and I was ready to go, but they had security. It was nothing, but at the time it was something because they were nobody bands, and they made it bigger, but it was kind of like they were just messed up, and we were just show a little respect. They were cursing and this, that, and the other thing, but they're rock stars and they could do that. I'm sorry.
Have you talked to them since that incident?
Green Day? I don't think they knew who we were, and you know what? I didn't know who they were. I like their songs.
It's a tremendous story.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Yeah, that is a good story.
That'll be in my book. Have a positively rock bottom day. That'll be the name of my book.
Well, going back with all those years at ECW and everything,
Yes.
one of the things you got to be really good friends with Terry Funk.
Yes.
And did he give going back? Do you consider yourself really fortunate as far as being able to hook up with him, being kind of a tag team partner of him, and and all the contributions? Really, I thought that in the growing period of ECW, he made a lot of contributions to that company in little ways that people will look at it and see he put a lot of guys over and watch the tapes. But I mean, when you go back, all of those guys, whether it was you or Sabu or all of them, Public Enemy. Really, the period they got over was when they were Shane Douglas, even Mick Foley, all of them, was when they were working with or against Terry Funk.
Terry. I look at myself as being very, very fortunate just in the wrestling business alone because I've gotten a chance to be with the guys I idolized growing up. And Terry Funk did more for ECW in the beginning days, and when he would come back and make his cameos, because that's what Terry Funk does. And I was very, very fortunate just to hear him talk, to me. And he pulled me aside one time because I was giving my generic, so I'm Tommy Dreamer and blah 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 promo, and he just said, stop yelling and stop cutting a wrestling promo and just be Tommy, be yourself. And that's what I did, and it kind of worked. And but Terry was Terry, and he's a great guy. I wish I talked to him more, and for what he's done for the business, he's Terry Funk. He's a legend. He's an icon, and that's why I guess I kind of pattern myself after him. I mean, if you think about it, my last match in the ECW arena, I put over an unknown named Easy Money, who became Jason Jett, and that's what I did in ECW, and that's how I wanted to pattern myself like that, be the guy whose career would just get other guys to become stars. Because if you think about being a professional wrestler, that's what we do. We're supposed to make our opponent, and the greats did that. Not saying that I'm a great, but Ric Flair and Terry Funk, and they all did. They made guys go out there and look great, and that's what I want to do.
This is an interesting thing because there's guys, when I think of like Terry Funk, Ric Flair, you in your situation, because you mostly were putting guys over. Right. A lot of people may not even remember that, but it was C.W. Anderson and all of them. I mean, I know when Paul Lee was ready to elevate a guy, the big thing was
the first. If you think about it, in '97. The first feud Rob Van Dam had was against me, and then he went on to be, Mr. Monday Night, and that's kind of was like my role, and that was the role I wanted to be in.
The Raven feud, you always put him over.
You worked with me, and then you moved on to bigger and better things, and I found a new project. Whether it be you moved on to work with Sandman, or if you moved on to work with Van Dam, that's how it was in ECW. I mean, I did it for Just Incredible. And I'd do it for anybody. That's how I like it.
I honestly thought that one of the best matches that I ever saw you in, and I remember this because a friend and I watched this at like 2:00 in the morning on MSG with you and Raven when you got choke slammed through 10 tables at the ECW arena, and Joey Styles.
It was 4 actually.
Well,
I held the world record. I did it before Cactus took that big bump off the cage too.
But the way Joey Styles reacted and the crowd and he's just, oh my God, and.
That became the catchphrase.
Oh, that was, but no, I know it did, but that right there said to me, this guy is unbelievable dreamer. I mean, it just.
That's because I had my big butt. It just cracked all the tables. Actually, that night I only went through 2 tables because the other 2 buckled. And if you watch the tape, there was a Formica table, and I took that out with my shin, and I didn't have no feeling in my left shin for the rest of my life. So I'm hardcore, though. That's all that matters.
What are you, looking back on the other end, that's right. What, as far as like all of the injuries and everything like that, I mean, you did that interview with Christian York and Joey Matthews towards the end of ECW.
Right.
And you did a lot of memorable interviews. I was going to bring up
Thank you.
The other one that, for whatever reason, pops into my head that I remember the best is the one. I think it was like some Japanese footage, and you were talking about Terry Funk, and
yes.
that's the other one I was going to bring up. But the one with York and Matthews, how much of that was a shoot, and how much of that was just to kind of tell a story?
No, it was all kind of shoot. I mean, I was looking at it. I was looking at my life, and I saw these 2 guys because basically in the beginning of ECW, the only reason why I didn't get over was because I was a good-looking kid, and Paul said, you know what, you need to grow a beard, and he said, get a little fat. So I got a lot fat, and I still kept my beard. And Joey and Christian were 2 really good-looking kids with good bodies and could get over anywhere. And the fans accepted them, but some fans were just knocking them for because they're good-looking guys. And meanwhile, that they could go in the ring. And I was just like, the whole angle was just basically like, you don't want to end up like me, and you proved you're hardcore, and you don't have to do that for the fans because we're just trying to make it different, but it didn't come to total fruition. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a shoot. I mean, I being on the indies now, I watch a lot of things. I've been to some places where they've done no rope barbed wire matches, and there's 60 people there, and I say to myself, God, I think me and Paul ruined the business, but then you look at WWF and they have 68,000 at WrestleMania, and you say, wow, maybe we helped the business, because it's kind of a catch-22. A lot of people always told me, well, what are you doing that for, this, that, and the other thing. A lot of times I say I should have listened, but in hindsight, if I had to do my life over, I never would, because I don't regret a thing, just for the simple fact of, I've lived my dream, and, I have no regrets.
Sometimes when I look at ECW and the influence of ECW, a lot of the concepts that Paul came up with, went to WCW, and WCW had its greatest success ever, and then they squandered it. WWF then, a little while later, took a lot of those same things, and WWF has become the biggest wrestling company that there's ever been. And yet a lot of other things, gotten things to the extreme. We talked about in the break, some of the stuff like the Combat Zone match. And I'll watch that, and I go, man, I'm really scared. You were talking about, no rope barbed wire match in front of 60 people.
Right. I work for the CCW, and some of those guys are great wrestlers, and that whole locker room is pretty much, they're a bunch of great guys, but they like to do things, they feel they have to push the envelope every show, and they don't have to, push the envelope every show. They did something with fluorescent light bulbs, and that's poisonous. That's poisonous, toxic gas inside, and one guy got cut up. Maybe, instead of using 30 fluorescent light bulbs a show, maybe you just do one and build up to it. That's, if you think about the whole thing we did with the tables, we went through one table, and then you go to 2, then 3, and then 4, and then we kind of went away from it for the simple fact of, because the fans, I can't go through 10 tables, because you just go higher and higher, and, to me, ECW we had some of the greatest wrestlers. We had some great brawls. We gave the fans the most for their money. And I mean, you look at WrestleMania. WrestleMania did the same thing. WrestleMania and WWF does that. Raw's a great show. But I mean, WrestleMania had some great brawls. It had women's matches. It had everything. Rock and roll music. It came like the Vince and Shane match came. All the stories finished and closed. I mean, it was a great show. And I mean, ECW just did that on a small level and on house shows. And then so. It is, you don't want to see, you see so many, there's a lot of guys also that aren't trained properly, and that's also what I'm scared about, because you see guys breaking their necks, or getting hurt, or, a few indie wrestlers are dying because people are just, letting anybody in the ring, and that's not how it should be, and, people are diving off the top of ladders, and trust me, you get hurt.
Oh, the other thing is what if, whenever you take a risk off of a ladder or something like that, and I mean, was a guy in Mexico where the ladder just slipped and he went head first right to the floor.
I mean, and especially when you play with fire, it's an old saying, but you get burns because fire is uncontrollable, and just like glass, you don't know how glass is going to cut you, and it's not fake glass, you don't know how it's just going to break. So I mean, you take that risk, and if you want to take that risk, then God bless you, but you don't have to take those risks every night, and at least. If you're going to do it, build up for it if you have a TV, or if, you have, a lot of people that pay, but, that's how I look at it.
If you go back in hindsight over the last 4 or 5 years of ECW, what would you say you're the proudest of? And also, what would you say if you could go back and go, okay, this is one thing, one direction, or one something I wish we didn't do?
I don't know. Again, I have no regrets what we did in ECW. Paul did everything, for a reason. I liked most of the stuff that, I know I put together. I know he got a lot of heat when he did the thing with Chris and Tammy. I didn't like it on TNN, but at the time it got us a rating, and they wanted it, they were willing to do it, and it told an interesting story, and, that was that. Some of the greatest things, how I look at it, in my own personal, standpoint. I look at, when the Dudleys, wrestle, and I put the Dudleys together. When I see Justin Credible out there, Justin Credible, in Paul's mind was finished at 23 years old. He had left WWF, and I saw something in him, and I wanted to do it. I know I got a lot of slack, for the angle I did with my grandfather with him, but that basically made him. But I did that because my grandfather was one of the most special people in my life, and it made him a part of my life that way. And, I mean, my grandfather on a 100% shoot hit the ring, my second match on Hugh Morris. He was my second match, and my grandfather hit the ring on him and had to, fight security. And, it was great. Ask Hugh Morris. He's terrified of my family because then they wanted to put a hit on him. It was, to me, it's just my whole life, again, has always revolved around the business. But, you look at Raven. Raven came to ECW, and I have to say this because I know Raven always listens to these shows. Raven came to ECW, and our early matches, it was always Johnny Polo or Scotty the Body, and I know Raven wants to take credit for everything, but, me and him together created the Raven character, and I'm sure my cell phone should be ringing shortly, so.
And mine too. Let's go to Seth. Seth, you're up.
Hello?
Hey, how are you, Seth?
Seth, you're on the air. How are you, sir?
Hey, Tommy Dreamer. I just want to say that you are great, and I think Dreamer Raven was the greatest feud ever, better than Austin.
Al thinks that too.
Thank you.
That's Al's favorite feud is Tommy Dreamer and Raven.
Thank you. We had some magic.
Yeah, it was great, and I just wanted to ask you, did you come up with, not come up with, but were you the one who decided to use the Dreamer driver? I mean,
actually, I stole the Dreamer driver from Misawa.
Misawa, yeah.
I'm the innovator of stealing, but I have come up with a lot of things. And if you ever, once you read my book, which will never come out, no, I just, I like being creative, and that's what I do. I've been a fan forever. I'm a huge baseball fan, but you can't think of different ways to catch a baseball, But in wrestling, you could just think of a whole lot of different ways. I can't. When Edge and Christian said they got the double boot stomp when they pulled the guy upside down. And they step on the guy's manly area. They got that from me. The double chair concerto, the Dudley Boys did that to me. I had Beulah do a moonsault before Alita, and Frankensteiner, because it was just a girl doing it, just, to be different. And
you came up with the Tommy Hawk, right?
Yes, I did. That is my proud invention.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. And I know how to hit a guy with a frying pan if I tape it to my foot in an enziguri, but...
Yeah, and I remember... One of the funniest things is when you...
When I danced or... Yes.
You beat up...
See? When I danced.
Vince McMahon's nephew guy.
Who?
I don't remember this.
And you hit him in the balls with the bowling
Lance
ball.
Wright with the bowling ball.
Lance Wright.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
And you danced and you stole Hawaiian guy's hat.
Yes. Thank you very much.
That was the funniest thing.
That's what it's all about, having fun.
And those things will live forever when they finally do the 24-hour wrestling channel and they fill it up with all the old footage.
Yes, so you see me hitting men with bowling balls and cheese graters and all sorts of crap. I was the first person to bring out a kitchen sink, though. Killer Carl Cox did that.
I remember that when I was a kid. Killer Carl Cox in the kitchen sink.
I told you I'd outmark you. Thank you, Seth.
Yep, I just wanted to say you're great.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the years.
Well, I'll keep trying for you, pal.
Let's go to Adam. Adam, what's up?
Hey, guys, what's up?
Nothing.
Adam, how are you, sir?
Hey, Tommy. You're the
What's
man,
going
man.
on?
You are
Thank
the man.
you. That's what Seth said.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian's the man, too.
Is Brian there?
I'm
Brian's here.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
I love the show, Dave. I love the show, Brian. I'm the first time calling here, but I listen to the show every night. And Brian, I'm thinking about ordering the Figure 4 Weekly because it's some funny stuff.
You should. I give it my
He gives it a 5-star recommendation.
Man, that thing is so funny. I mean,
Well, he makes me laugh enough on the show. I'm going to have to order it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have any questions for me? You can talk to these guys every night. What about me? It's my first time ever doing it.
You, man.
I'm the man, Raven.
When you guys were
what?
up in Canada in Mississauga, I met you there, and that was a real big privilege.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to wrestle that night because I had gotten hurt 2 nights before.
Yeah, I know. I almost grabbed your shoulder, and you told me not to.
Well, because my bicep, pec, and shoulder were hanging out, and you're probably hanging on it. But,
yeah, I was.
But I'll be back in Ontario for Border City Wrestling on June, I think it was June 6th on a Wednesday night. So you should check that out because they got a lot of good guys, and there's a lot of cool. So there's a plug for my friend Scott Demore.
Yeah, he's pretty cool guy.
Cool, even though he just beat me for the belt, but that's okay.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you a question too.
Yes.
Okay, we've heard the stories about Barely Legal, what it was like backstage, and we've seen like the little footage that was on Beyond the Mat. What was the atmosphere really like backstage that night?
Well, an atmosphere like anything, except for I hear he's different now with Paul, is everything is the last minute. I mean, we would change stuff, and we were all just very, very nervous. And I probably single-handedly won the worst commentator of all time award that night because that's all I did was the commentary. But it was very, very hectic. But at the end, it was a great relief, And it was just, hey, we accomplished something that we never thought we could accomplish.
Didn't the generator blow 20 seconds after the show?
Right before it, and we had no. But I mean, people were crying. It was great. ECW was a hell of an emotional
ride. Your favorite
ride.
show that you guys ever did?
No.
Well, what would you say would be your favorite show?
My favorite pay-per-view was Anarchy Rules because I did the whole pay-per-view. I did every match. I booked everything up into it, and the night where Jerry Lynn won the belt, that was my entire show from top to bottom. And, Paul just sat back and he was like, just do it, but that's how Paul was, And to me, that was my proudest moment just because, I was hurt and I couldn't wrestle. And I was just like, wow, look what all my friends have done for me. That's how I look at stuff, My own personal, I don't know. I don't have my own personal favorite match. Again, this is all I've ever wanted to do in my life. So, tonight will probably be one of my favorite nights because I'm in the ring wrestling.
Now, do you, we're going to run over a break right in a second, but I want to ask you, do you have a certain point where you think was a turning point as far as on the ascension of ECW? A lot of people talk about the night the line was crossed with Lee Terry Funk, Shane, and
You're
Sabu.
talking about myself or for the company?
For the company itself.
Yeah, the night the line was crossed was where you could just, after everything, like there was a big buzz and people were just, standing after watching guys work for an hour. And at the time, no one was doing that, And again, we had, I've said this on so many interviews. I mean, I wrestled in ECW in front of like 25, 50 people. And then like after that, every house was just jammed every time we went to the arena. And then we started expanding more and more. I think that was a fitting night,
Okay, we're here with Shane and Shannon, the Ballard twins, and you guys. For those of you who haven't seen them, they do Slapshot.
Yeah,
Hanson
that's right.
Brothers. Okay, the Hanson Brothers. Yeah. Where did you watch that movie when you were kids, or?
Yeah, actually, we grew up playing hockey. Was what we did before wrestling. So we kind of wanted to mix hockey and wrestling in the same,
You come out with the hockey jerseys and the stick and
Yeah.
the old Hanson Brothers gimmick and everything like that.
We have seen that movie probably about 100 times.
Really?
About that many.
I would think I've seen that movie about 7 times, but not in the last 15 years. I used to go to that movie all the time. That movie was hilarious. I think I was too young to even understand it when I saw it. Like the plot and anything. I just liked the gags and everything.
Yeah.
The Hanson twins when they were doing the stick to everyone. Brian, did you ever see that movie?
Actually, you won't believe this, but I have it sitting right here in front of me.
Yeah?
See
how that goes? What? What'd you say?
That's true. Someone
You
sent
got
it to
that?
me to watch.
Oh, the movie's great. How did you guys? You mentioned to me in the break that you guys got your start actually doing lucha libre.
Yeah, we were trained lucha libre about maybe 3.5 years ago, and we didn't start doing American wrestling until probably about 2.
Yeah, we probably it took us a while actually even to get used to doing the American wrestling because it is a little bit different than lucha libre. So I would say American wrestling we've been doing about 2.5 years or so.
We were called
What do you think are the biggest differences between the two styles?
Yeah, for you guys to work it.
Oh, wow.
I think Vampiro was talking, he was on, and he said, when I first came to WCW, I didn't even know how to take a flat back bump.
Yeah, I've heard him say that too.
It is a lot different, it's a lot more situated more the right side, than the left side.
Right,
as far as,
a lot of flips, and actually you get the people with the lucha libre, they used to be afraid to wrestle us because they think that we're actually out to hurt them. So they a lot of times people would come in with their bags, they found out they were wrestling Los Rojos Locos, and they'd actually end up leaving. So it was tough, actually getting trained because we didn't speak Spanish and the guy didn't speak English, so we just kind of had to go by feel.
So now, why did you hook up with a lucha libre style first? Because a lot of people with a Mexican background or some Americans. Actually, I knew a lot of Americans who trained in lucha because they were big fans of that growing up and weren't necessarily as big of fans of American style. Was that the case with you, or?
No, actually, we were big on the American wrestling, but at the time there wasn't a UPW or there was no place to really train. So we actually hooked up with Alex Knight, who was one of the medics of Mexico, and he liked us so much he trained us for free. So.
Also, back then when we were starting out, there weren't as many leagues as there are now as far as American wrestling. The Lucha Libre League we're in ran every Sunday, and it's called WPW. And they continue to run every Sunday. We haven't done a show in quite some time for them, but that's how really every week we had a chance to wrestle, a chance to work a match. Whereas at the time for American wrestling, no one knew who we were, so nobody wanted to book us.
Now, what's happened lately? I've seen your names around. You've been all over the West Coast and up in Canada as well.
Just got back from Canada. We went to Pennsylvania for the Giorgio Foods tournament, and we did that. That was in November.
Yeah, November of last year.
What's it like as far as getting bookings as far as what out of California?
Actually, we like to travel because it's how often do you get to actually see the world and wrestle and go on that route. So it's nice. Actually, the phone, sometimes I get calls from people. I don't even know how they got my number, but I'll get these calls and they'll be like, "Hey, we want to book you guys, and we've heard of you." And we're like, "Oh, okay."
Well, word travels in that regard. I think partially the internet and gets names out. Word travels a lot faster in wrestling because years ago, a lot of the guys who would be wrestling here, if they would be wrestling this style, outside of the city, literally nobody would know who they are. And now a lot of people, they they may not be able to put a face and a style to the name, but they do know the name.
Yeah, actually, when we were in Canada, a couple of people asked me, how Looney Lane looked up close, and if I knew the prototype, because I guess they saw the special on the Discovery Channel.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, nowadays I notice too, people, if you're wrestling a show, let's say back east or in Canada, or basically anywhere in the world, people can see a picture of you, actually download a match. People could know you without ever even seeing you live, whereas back in the 70s, unless you went through their town and they saw you live, they would never...
Or on local television.
Yeah, or on local television, they would never even know who you are. So yeah, that does help a lot as far as, bookings go, and as far as people getting your name out, because that has helped us a lot. A lot of people have said that they've heard of us over the internet, and that was one of the ways that they did hear a lot of good things about us that way.
Now, how did you guys get hooked up? You've done quite a few WWF dark matches. How did that? Was the first one up in the Bay Area? Because I remember
San Jose, yeah.
Yeah, the San Jose show was the first time I'd seen you guys. I think it might have been the first time I've actually seen you guys wrestle live. Was the San Jose show against? Was it Hardcore Kid? And,
yeah,
that would have been
Just Insane.
Yeah, Just Insane. Yeah,
Rick Bassman. That's how we got Rick Bassman got us the dark match there for WWF. We'd hope in the future that we could get another one. I thought that we did fairly well. It was different, being in front of that many people, and the first time we've ever done a dark match. So I think we did learn a lot, and hopefully we will, be able to improve, the next time we do a dark match.
What's as far as like stylistically and everything like that? I noticed when you did the match, you were doing a lot of dives and things like that. Is this from the lucha background, or was it just kind of? I mean, what kind of pressure? You're going out there in front of a crowd who doesn't know who you are, and in front of agents and people that are looking at you for the first time. Is there like a feeling like we got to get our moves in, because you've got to do something to make them stand out, because they're going to watch 50 wrestlers that night anyway.
Oh yeah, we base a lot of our things. What helps us a lot is a lot of our double team moves are kind of innovative, and that's one of the things.
A lot of people stealing them though these days.
That's what we want to try to get across is the twin thing. We're basically twins. You could switch in and out of the ring, and there's really no distinguishing the two. When we're out there wrestling, and just basically that type of thing, trying to get our bigger moves across, so we get what we're trying to do on a WWF match is we want to get that heat from the crowd. If we're for the crowd to really get into it. I've seen a lot of dark matches when people never have heard of the person before. Where
you go for popcorn.
Yeah, or
it's tough.
You can hear a pin drop, and basically we just want a reaction when we go out there.
Well, I mean, the one thing, the appearance and everything like that, you don't look like typical wrestlers just because of the hockey getup and the sticks and everything, and
right.
And people go, slap shot,
Yeah, actually, in the airport on the way back, someone from LA actually went to San Jose and saw that match, and they were yelling, "Those are the Hanson brothers that wrestled last night," while we were running through the airport. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. So you guys actually bring like the sticks and everything down for the dark matches?
Yeah, we bring them everywhere. Southwest doesn't like us bringing them, but we still bring them.
Now, the nurse Melissa, does she travel with you guys all the time?
Melissa actually, she outside of UPW, she's like our main valet.
Actually, she's a
cheerleader. Yeah.
Melissa. Yeah.
So it goes along with the gimmick a little bit, even though there's really no cheerleaders in hockey, but we'll bring out the first.
Well, we'll just have to make it work somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now did she train with you, or?
No, actually we actually used to have a coach that came out with us and two cheerleaders, and then the coach and the other cheerleader kind of failed, and she was actually growing up like her father was in the business. So
who's your father?
Doug Anderson. He used to team with Bill Anderson.
Okay, in Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, I just vaguely remember, but.
And so she kind of grew up in the business, so that's why she knows the business and everything. So it's good to have her with us, because she we don't have to like explain everything to her again and again.
Now, where did she train, and how did you guys hook up?
She trained actually with Bill Anderson, and I actually did a show for her father in Palmdale one night. It was just me. My brother didn't go, and I was talking to her, and her dad told me, she's training, to wrestle, and then I figured I'd help him out by bringing her out as a cheerleader, and then she kept getting better and better, and now she's like really does all the high risk moves, so it's good to bring her with us.
What? You guys run around the independent scene and everything. Do you have any like horror stories or anything like that of like nights that, you know what I mean? Like whether it's just a bad
didn't
ring
get
or a
paid,
horrible
ring.
That would be Mexicali.
They forgot the ring.
We went to Mexicali one time, and there were posters all over the city that the Rojos Locos are coming down, and actually it was a good night for the crowd. There was a big crowd there, but we didn't know where the place was. We got into there, and it was all dirt roads. A promoter was supposed to meet us at a bus station, and he didn't speak English. No one there spoke English. So while we were waiting, I went out to use the phone, and like 6 or 7 guys surrounded me, and they like wanted to rob me.
Oh God!
So I pushed my way through them and made it in the car. Or I yelled for the police. There were 2 police there. Yeah, they looked at me and they laughed and they rode away. And so I got in the car and I told Shane, I was like, "Let's go, let's get out of here." You know, I don't care. Right then the promoter pulled up. When we got there, they were explaining everything to us, but it was in Spanish, and we didn't understand what they wanted, and the people got crazy, and then they wrote all over our car with dirt rocks. So
they actually wrote such vicious things that they stopped us at the border because they asked us what we were doing in Mexico, and we said, well, we just came back from a wrestling match. We're wrestling, and they said, well, for somebody to write something that vicious on your car, it can't be from wrestling. It's got to be a bad drug deal. So they actually pulled us out of the car.
Detained us.
Yeah, searched the car for over an hour, got the mirrors out, went through every crack in this car.
Yeah.
It was, quite embarrassing. The ring was, I would have rather took a bump on the outside.
Yeah, the ring was, it was a plywood. There was tires under there, no spring. And carpet. There was no padding. The carpet was the padding. And the guy did a Frankensteiner from the top rope onto me, and I hit that, and I was like, oh.
One of the things, a lot of people, when they watch Lucha Libre for the first time, because people take the bumps so totally different.
Oh, it's the rings, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and a lot of people will look at that and they'll go, God, that's just so, because when your eyes are used to a certain style, someone even wrote in and just goes, I started watching the Tuesday because of no WCW, and it's terrible. Yeah. And it's like, I remember as a kid, a lot of the Lucha fans used to go to me and go, this stuff is great, this stuff is awesome. And and I don't know if you were like this, Brian, but the first time I watched, I was going like, this stuff is terrible. And then when I started watching it week after week, I actually understood that, once your eyes get adapted to it isn't terrible anymore, but because it's not that it's terrible, it's different. They're going on the other side.
It's just something you got to get used to.
Yeah, like when they start taking the holds on the other side, you're going like, there's something wrong with this picture. Is this did they film it backwards or something?
When I was a kid and I first started watching Lucha Libre, I could not understand if there was different rules.
The rules,
people were
3 falls.
Were being pinned at the same time, and it was just completely
3
different.
3 people piling up on one guy.
Yeah. And then the tags, that one guy goes flying out of the ring, so there's no tag. The other guy goes in. Yeah. 3 guys are beating up on the one guy in the ring, and the other 2 don't even go in the ring, to help them out. They're just watching. So
you know what scared me about that was the first time I talked to not an American that wrestled in Mexico, but a Mexican who knew English, and I just was going like, okay. Now, I understand the rules in the United States. Now, explain the rules in Mexico to me. And he couldn't do it. He says, we just do it, and we just go in there and beat this guy up, and then the other guy comes in. So.
But during Lucha Libre was an experience. But now that we've been booked for so many American shows, I don't even know if I could do it again. Yeah. It would be quite a difference. Because we used to train that all the time, train Lucha Libre, but now it just seems like it's a whole different style, a whole different world now, even though we have done it.
When we talk about the bumps and everything, the reason that those guys learn to take bumps in a different way is because, traditionally, and I don't know if it's changed in the last couple of years, but, back certainly, years ago, the rings in Mexico, they were like boxing rings, and they were like cement. You couldn't take regular bumps like they do in the United States.
That's why they do the little rolls for the hip tosses and all that.
Yeah. What was it like as far as adapting to, American-style bumps and American-style rings when you started wrestling the style here?
Actually, it was really easy because we've always liked taking big bumps. That was like our thing, and since we were used to such a hard ring, it was a lot easier when we actually took the bumps in the American ring, and now we've adapted to the style a lot better to where, like my brother said, it's like I don't think we could go back to Lucha Libre. I don't think we'd want to, but that would be the only difference is, when you're taking the big bumps, it's just like you feel a little more comfortable now, rather than when you take them on a Lucha Libre ring, you just don't know if you're going to get up or not.
Now, schedule-wise, what kind of stuff do you guys have coming up?
We're going back to Canada, I think in July. And June we've got a Colorado show. We've got a lot of Arizona shows. And actually, we're going to go to the East Coast probably in July as well. We're trying to get some Maryland Championship Wrestling shows booked, and then we're going to ECCW, which is in like Vancouver, and that'll probably be like end of June.
Any short-term, long-term goals for wrestling?
Well, like everybody, we want to do WWF, but right now our short term is we just want to be the best. Actually, I mean, we want everyone to know, who we are and what we can do, and just we want to get the name out as much as possible. We made a name on the West Coast. Now we want to go to the East Coast and make a big impression down there, kind of like Chris Daniels did.
Who, as far as independent guys that you've worked with, anyone stand out? You mentioned Chris Daniels' name.
Yeah, definitely Chris Daniels. He taught us actually a lot about work and booking shows. I think Frankie Kazarian is very talented, and the Cubanitos. As far as like other promotions go than the UPW, I would say West Side Players from APW. And all those guys, they were trained properly.
Donovan Morgan, Mike Modest.
Yeah.
And Holy Rollers actually were really good. They're from Maryland Championship Wrestling. And we'd like to work actually with Christian York and Joey Matthews. I think that'd be a really good match.
We are totally out of time. I want to thank you guys for dropping by, and good luck tonight. And
thanks.
We'll be seeing you down the road, okay?
Thank you. It was a pleasure doing the show.
Okay, you're very welcome. Brian, thanks very much for being here. And tomorrow we'll be back in San Jose, and we'll be catching up on the news. And we're also going to have Don Callis. So it'll be like one of those shows because Don, of course, totally keeps up on everything going on. So we'll be talking about the current news and as well as Don himself. So we want to talk about news and everything like that, which we really haven't had a chance much to do this week, except for on Monday. Tomorrow's a real good day for that, and Friday, Superstar Billy Graham. And we'll see everybody tomorrow at 5.